let's get it. I'm coming from donating blood. Great time. Staff's lovely. People you talk to are lovely. You know, waiting in line, whatever. But there was this guy, a couple people in front of me, who basically was a little bitch about needles and shit. This guy was older than me. Late 20s, early 30s, maybe. So we're waiting in line to like get our fingers pricked and shit. And he's saying shit to the nurse. Maybe it's small talk, maybe it's not. Basically, he's talking about how how it hurts to get his finger pricked. I'm like, bro, that hurts. It maybe stings for a millisecond. So this is why I want to talk about suffering, right? This is not going to be the only video I make on this. I know this for a fact because this is how strongly I believe in purposely suffering. I think purposeful suffering is very important for your growth in general, but any type of suffering can be instrumental and important in all these things. So basically, you have this guy, he's a little bitch about pain and suffering because he hasn't gone through any. He's like this tall ass dude too, like 6'6" minimum. Skinny as shit too. Obviously doesn't lift weights. Looked like a nerd. Whatever. If that's your thing, it's whatever. Anyway, he's like talking to the nurse when he's getting his finger pricked, saying how it hurts, blah blah blah. He's in front of me, like we're face to face during the blood, while they're taking the blood. And he looks like he's gonna have an aneurysm. Legitimately. Like, I'm like looking at him, I'm like, dude, are you okay? His face is awful. Like, he looks horrendous. And that's not because of anything physical. That's all mental. The little prick on your finger, the needle in your arm, the whole 40 minutes you're there or whatever, all that pain, all that discomfort you're feeling is mental. So you acting like a little bitch because you can't, you can barely take a needle in your arm and barely get your finger pricked without bitching about it. You look weak as shit. Purposely suffering. If you have any amount of suffering in your life, any amount of pain, as little as like lifting weights, bare minimum, or working out, if you do these things, it raises your tolerance for pain and suffering. I think it's Epictetus or whatever the dude's name is, or some Greek guy. He's like, those who suffer before it's necessary suffer unnecessarily or something. And I disagree with that shit entirely. I mean, I guess it depends how you interpret the quote. But you will not regret the pain and the suffering you go through in your life, especially if it's purposeful. There's no way you're going to regret it. Because at the bare minimum, when you go through suffering later on in life, you're used to it. And that's what we're seeing with people nowadays. Alright, so I got some rich friends, obviously. Maybe not obviously, but like I know some, not rich friends, but like I have some friends whose parents are rich and, you know, process of transmission or transitive property or something, like they're rich somehow. So yeah. These dudes are not the people you want to talk to. If you're trying to like talk some bullshit or whatever, or make connections or something, sure. These guys, there's a difference between people 100%, right? There's people that have like gone through stuff and learned from it, experienced it, have grown, have done all this stuff, and people who haven't. And it's obvious when you speak to them. It's obvious when you hang out with them. And a lot of the times, the guys that are like this, like the ones that haven't really dove into suffering or haven't like struggled to a certain degree in their life, are fake as shit. They're just looking out for themselves, trying to avoid suffering, basically. They're basically living their life to avoid suffering because it's comfortable for them. And I might have talked about this yesterday a little bit, but you need to, I'm going to just keep saying this because this is how strongly I feel about it. If you are not purposely suffering every single day in your life, you are falling behind. You are not growing, and maybe you don't want to grow, and maybe you don't want to make money. Well, you're a pussy, regardless. You're giving a new day every single day, and you choose to use your time acting like a bitch. That blows my mind. I understand it. I get it. It's comfortable. It's easy. It's easier to, be in an environment where you're used to, right? And avoiding that. But you don't learn anything from it. You don't grow from it. You don't, we use a metaphor of like the caterpillar to a butterfly, right? What's a caterpillar? A little soft, squishy ass bug. Goes through a process of transformation, of suffering, of growth, of vulnerability, of all these things. Comes out, beautiful butterfly. Can fly around and a little bit more, I wouldn't say durable, but it's able to fly and shit. It's easier for it to survive. And that's the point. If you want to survive, if you want to live and like have a good life and just, I don't even want to just say survive, but like you're going to have to suffer. There's no avoiding that. So when I see these parents putting their kids in positions to not suffer, even in the slightest amount, because they're afraid of the kid getting upset or the kid not liking the activity or whatever, why are you negotiating with a child? Or, I was going to say terrorist, but nah, I don't buy that. At all. Anytime I go out now, you can tell rich kids look like pussies for the most part. Rich girls, however, want to date these rich guys, but they're pussies. So they don't want to date them. They're not sexually attracted to them. They don't feel alive in their presence, unlike other people. Regardless, I don't know the point of this video, but I just got so pissed off looking at this dude being a little bitch when he was tall, handsome, but soft. And this is just like the products we're making. They're wondering why people aren't going into trades or in the military's having problems and people aren't whatever with the men. Like why like the rise of emotional men. You have, so I'll talk in my experiences. My dad worked a lot. He still works a lot. God bless him. He's out of the house by 7 a.m. This is my whole life. He was out of the house by 7 a.m. and not back till like maybe like 5 or whatever. Like, it depends, 5 to 7, working 2 jobs. I only got to see him weekends for the most part and a couple hours here and there. So who did I spend most of my time with? My mother, or my aunt, or my grandma, or whatever. And this is a common theme amongst a lot of people my age, is that boys are being raised by women. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing, take on the characteristics, the traits of a woman when you're in that environment for so many years. And again, not necessarily a bad thing, but when you don't have that balance of the masculine at all, and you're a man, what does that make you? You could probably name a bunch of things, but I'm just going to say you're not your fullest potential. You were blessed, and I'll be honest, I think you're blessed to have that feminine. I think a lot of guys are blessed to have that feminine side to them, where they can understand. I think that's very important. But you have to learn the masculine traits and the masculine presence and everything about that. Because for two reasons. So like I said, you're not going to be your fullest balanced potential. And number two, I'm just going to say it, you're going to be a pussy. And women are not going to want to have sex with you or be with you. Because you're a pussy. They're going to take advantage of you because they know they can. What's it? Alpha Fox, Beta Bucks. I kind of hate that quote, but like it's true. Like you're gonna have to wait a little bit for girls to come around to you if you're a pussy, and they will eventually. I mean, they'll learn the game, and you know it's easier to be a guy like that who's a pussy, right? But you gotta remember, they're gonna wish they were with somebody else. Subconsciously, they're gonna wish they were with somebody who had that masculine drive, that masculine dominance, and all that. And maybe you won't. Maybe you'll find somebody that maybe has some trauma and then doesn't like the masculine shit. It's whatever. But in a healthy relationship, ideally, you got to have the masculine and feminine. And a lot of people. A lot of dudes are missing the masculine and have the feminine. A lot of girls have the masculine and missing the feminine. I mean, everybody knows this. Girls are more dominant now than they were in previous generations. More aggressive, more like whatever you want to say. And guys are more passive. And whatever, and I'll say this too, like, I'm more passive when it comes to relationships and dating, for sure. So, in the most part, women are approaching me in order to spark a conversation, or to dance, or to whatever. And then that's for multiple reasons, which, I mean, I want to make a video about semen retention at some point. I really want to soon, because it's like suffering, like purposeful suffering, it's very important. I'm about to get gas. I drove by this shit earlier and it's already up 15 cents. So yeah, if you're a guy and you look at yourself objectively and you see that you're a bitch, do something about it. If not, you're going to be upset, you're going to be sad, and it's going to eat at you the rest of your life. So if you're cool with that, be my guest. If not, do something about it. Peace.